Here's an English speaking evaluation I gave to another fantastic Master English Conversation subscriber. There are a ton of great tips in here, and we really talk about focusing on the basics of pronunciation and mastering grammar. So listen carefully and comment down below the video if there's anything you'd like to know more about how to improve. Enjoy! Thank you so much for sending me your recording. I know you've been a Master English Conversation subscriber for a long time, and it's so great to finally hear your voice. First of all, I just wanted to say that you have a fantastic voice. I really like listening to it. I must have played your recording maybe 8 or 10 times just because I really wanted to hear your voice and really listen to how you sound and what you're thinking about for learning English. So a few things we'll go over, but in general, there are only a few small things that you need to change in order to really improve your pronunciation and grammar so that you really start speaking with confidence. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, your home in Lithuania sounds really beautiful. I'd love to have a place like that. I live in an apartment here in Japan, and there's no garden around me. I am a gardener, and I wish I had a huge garden growing my own vegetables and fruit trees and things like that. I think that would be fantastic. So I envy you. I'd love to see where you live. Also, wanting to help your students learn English, I think that's a great goal. It's also something I do. As a learner of Japanese, I do some teaching of Japanese to people on occasion. Even though I don't think my Japanese is perfect, there are still some things about learning I like to help others with. So I think that's a fantastic goal. So in this recording, I want to give you some great tips that you can use to really start seeing dramatic improvement in your English, and we're going to get into that right now. So the first is how confidence works. And this is a tricky issue for a lot of students because they don't have confidence, so they don't speak, and then their confidence gets worse, and we call this a vicious cycle. It's a negative cycle where you feel bad, and then you don't want to speak, and then you feel worse, and you don't want to speak more. So we want to correct that. We want to reverse the vicious cycle and turn it into a virtuous cycle. And the way you begin that is to focus on a few small things. So a lot of people, when they want to start learning English, they get really excited about studying many different things, and it can be confusing for people because they don't know which things to focus on. And what you really need to do is think like a scientist and focus on 1 or 2 specific things at a time and improve those, and then you can really start seeing more confidence, because as you get small successes and small improvement in your grammar or your pronunciation, then you start wanting to speak more, and it really builds your confidence to speak. So today, from what I hear, there are a few specific sounds that you need to practice. The first one is the CH sound. This is the ch, 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 ch. It's the same sound in cheese, cheddar, chips, and you can produce the sounds, but it's something that you should really be focusing on is over-pronouncing. So when you see a word like cheese, then really try to overpronounce the sound, even if it takes you longer to say. We call this overpronouncing. Really go over the sound and make it as long as you can. Cheese, cheese. That way you really make sure you say the sound properly. Then you can go back and start making it shorter. Cheese, cheese. The hard G sound, g g g g g g g g g, and the TR blend that we have in a word like tree. This is a very common sound, and it can be difficult for many non-native speakers if it's not really in your language. So a word like tree, tree, tree. The TR, it's actually 2 different sounds put together. So before you work on TR together, try to say them individually. So in this case, I would say t, 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 tree, tree, tree. And just like the CH sound, really take your time and slow down, say each sound individually, The difference between CH and TR is that CH is a digraph, and this means that the two sounds, the C and the H, actually come together to form one new sound. So you have to pronounce them at the same time. But the T and the R, it's actually two different sounds that are blended together very quickly. So this is just a blend of the sounds instead of a new sound coming out of the letters. So again, that CH is ch, 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 and the TR is ter, 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 tree, tree, tree. Also the hard G sound, g, 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 big, big, big. Go over sounds as much as you can. If there's one sound that you're not quite getting, then it will hold you back from becoming a more confident speaker because you'll be worried about it. So any sound you think you're not making properly, really take your time and go back and overpronounce the sound. Okay, now we're going to continue building your confidence with basic grammar. Now, a lot of students, and yourself included, they understand a lot of really difficult words, but the real secret to being able to speak confidently is mastering the basics. I know a lot of students, they get kind of tired of practicing this, but this is really where the speaking confidence comes from. Because these small mistakes, if you make these small mistakes in your grammar, that's when a native speaker is listening to you and they will think, why do they know all of these difficult words, but they don't know basic grammar? And it just kind of, it's like building a computer, and you have like a really nice outside to the computer and it looks really great, but the inside of it doesn't work properly. There's some computing code that doesn't function properly, and it's the same thing with grammar. So I always tell students that if they're not speaking confidently, it's usually because, again, the pronunciation, but really because of the basic grammar. So the grammar actually is more important than pronunciation, but both grammar and pronunciation will help you speak confidently. So I'll give you one sentence that you gave me from your recording, and listen to the differences in what I say for the first time I read it and the second time I read it. So here's the first time. We have 2 kids, son and daughter. We have 2 kids, a son and a daughter. Listen to that again. Listen to the difference between the first one and the second one. So here's the first one. We have 2 kids, son and daughter. We have 2 kids, a son and a daughter. Now, to your ear, maybe you wouldn't notice the difference so much when I'm putting a son and a daughter into the sentence. But to a native speaker, it's a very, very obvious, simple mistake that somebody's making, and if you can correct that, your English will sound much, much better. One of the things that I really want to stress for you and for everyone listening to this is that if you really focus on pronunciation first, but you don't worry about mastering the basics of grammar, then you're really going to delay your progress. Because it just honestly doesn't matter what your pronunciation sounds like so much if your grammar is great. There are lots of different speakers of English all over the world, and each one of them has their own pronunciation. Just like in Master English Conversation, you heard like my mom and other people, other speakers that are speaking the same thing that I'm saying, but their pronunciation is a little bit different. But everyone's grammar is great. So that's the real key. So to get good at mastering the basics, especially these things like using a, and the, begin with just walking around. You don't have to talk to anybody, but just walking around your neighborhood or even your house and just make basic sentences. This is a cup. This is a tree. This is a bird. This is an umbrella. Most people, if you make really difficult grammar mistakes, people don't notice them. But if you make the simple mistakes, that's when people really notice. So really focus on those, and then work on, again, the CH sound, the G sound, the hard G, and the TR blend. Practice those and mail me anytime if you have questions. And for everyone else out there, master those basics. Really master those basics, and that's where you're really going to build speaking confidence. Have an excellent day, and I will see you very soon in your next Master English Conversation lesson. Bye-bye. To learn how to speak real conversational English, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country, with a free trial of our Master English Conversation lessons. And to get fluent in English faster with our free email newsletter and email video course for students, visit us at EnglishAnyone.com.